How do you make money with your birth chart? We live in a time where everything is just more and more expensive, and sometimes we just want some little extra cash to travel, buy ourselves our favorite thing on our wish list, just enjoy life a little more. I spent hours and hours of reading in front of my textbooks, interpreting millions of charts, just to bring you 4 simple steps to learn how to transition into that lifestyle with your birth chart. So before we actually begin, you're just gonna need to pull up your birth chart. So if you don't know how to do that, I'm just gonna let you do it right now. Firstly, you're gonna type astroseek.com, which is a website used to calculate charts. Then you're gonna click on birth chart, of course. You're gonna put in all your information, make sure it's as accurate as possible. And then you're gonna want to click calculate chart. You're gonna get this chart, but it's using the wrong house system. So we're gonna press traditional. And then we get the final chart, which uses whole sign houses, which is the most accurate. So for step 1, we're gonna be evaluating just how much money, riches, wealth you can expect in your life. Because just know, not every birth chart is created equal, and some people are just going to have a bit more opportunity when it comes to earning money easily and without that much effort. And so before you can actually go out there and get the money, you need to actually know if it's going to be something that's going to be a little bit harder for you, or if it's going to be something that's going to come easier and just, flow into your hands. But how can we tell who's going to earn money easier or more money than another person just based on a birth chart? Well, we're actually going to be looking at the sect and the sign of your second house and eighth house rulers, as well as the planets that are located in those houses. Because houses basically represent different topics of your life, with the first house being yourself, and then the other houses, like the second being your money, the third your siblings, etc., etc. And so by looking at the planets ruling these houses and the planets within, we can know the condition and how well money just is gonna flow into your life. Okay, so let's start with the rulers of your second and eighth house. So how do you locate them? Well, you're gonna go and look at the second and eighth house, and you're gonna see what sign is located within them. When you know the sign that is in this house, in these houses actually, you can look at the planet that corresponds to those signs. I'm gonna put them right here. Write down the planet and just look at, screenshot the planetary glyph. Like this, it'll be easier for you throughout the video. Now, if you were born at night and you have these planets ruling your second and eighth house, well, you're going to want to write that down, because it means that these planets are going to be more positive and are going to be able to carry out their blessings in an easier fashion. If you were born during the day, it'll be these planets. Once again, write them down. And then finally, if you have this planet, aka Mercury, ruling your second or your eighth house, then you're going to look at whether it's ahead of the sun, like this, where it's forward, like in front of it, or behind the sun, like this. If it is forward the sun, it means that it does better during the day. And so if you were born during the day, it would be good in your chart. And if it is behind the sun, it means that it is better during the night, and it would be, better if you were born at night. Now that we're talking about positives and negatives, I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there. If the planets ruling your second or eighth house are not doing good by day or by night in correspondence with your chart, just know it's not the end of the world, and there are other ways that they can catch up. One of them being the signs that they're located in. We're gonna look at the sign that your second house and eighth house rulers are located in. So to find out what sign they're in, you're just going to want to remember the glyph that represented your planet, and you're going to want to look in your chart where that glyph falls, and you're going to look at the corresponding sign of where it's at. And when you know what sign it's in, you're just going to look at this table right here to see how positive your planet, your second house or eighth house ruler, are based on the sign that they are in. Now, if you combine the information from whether they're doing good by day or by night, as well as the sign that your second house and eighth house rulers are in, you can start to get a general understanding of how well and how good your planets are performing, and so how much money you can expect to get and how easily you can expect to get it. But then once again, like I said, to actually fully analyze these planets, it is going to take a lot more effort and a lot more energy.
There's things like being retrograde, under the beams, and just planetary speeds.
There's so many things that could impact a planet and how good it's doing and how much blessings it can bring. And so that's why down below you can book a reading with me where I will take all the time that I need to really level up your chart, level up your life by interpreting your chart. I actually forgot to introduce myself. So hey, I'm Mar Morningstar and I'm a traditional astrologer, aka not an astrologer that talks about the TikTok you'll be seeing. And I've been studying astrology for 4 years. And like I said, you can always book a reading with me on my website, marmorningstar.com/consultation, and you can use the coupon code YouTube for 15% off. Now, back to the video with step 2, where we're gonna be analyzing the condition of the planets that are within your 2nd and 8th house. So, while you were interpreting the rulers of these houses, you might have noticed that there were some planets actually located within these houses. And so now you're gonna wanna interpret them just like how you did your initial lord, by looking at the sect and how they're doing by day or by night based on your birth chart, as well as by sign, and looking at how well they're doing by the sign that they are in. And this is all gonna bring in a lot more information and a lot more details when we're gonna start interpreting and putting all of this together. Now to get on with step 3, we're actually now gonna start putting everything together and to start, interpreting how you earn, receive, spend, give, waste your money. We're just gonna look at each planet to see, what their symbolism means and how that corresponds to you earning money and how you can use that to earn more money in your life. You're gonna look at the rulers and the planets within. If you have no planets within these houses, it does not matter. It doesn't mean that your chart is any less good. You're just gonna focus on the ruler of the 2nd house specifically because, like I said, the 2nd and 8th house talk about finances, but the 2nd house more so. But if you do have planets within these houses, or within this house specifically, the 2nd, you're gonna look at that planet as well as the ruler. So you're gonna kind of combine them together to get a good description of a way and ways that you can earn more money with your chart. Okay, so for the first planet, we actually have Mercury. So if you have Mercury ruling or within the 2nd house, it means that you earn your money through things that have to do with communication, speaking, thinking. You have to be in your thinking, you have to put on your thinking cap with this one. It's basically means that you can earn money by maybe writing a blog, creating content as well. Anything that involves speaking is gonna really come and be beneficial in terms of your finances. And so yeah, put your thinking cap on and go out there. It also means that you might spend your money on things that just spark your interest out of nowhere, and especially books. I've got a very strong Mercury placement in my own chart, and if you all saw the books that I have in this house, you would get it. If you have a Venus ruling or within your 2nd house or your 8th, it might mean that you might gain money through relationships, working with other women, art, beauty, and just, jewelry, all the things that are, canonically feminine that we might put in the box as feminine, obviously. And so it might mean that, being a makeup artist, on the side might help you earn a little bit more money, being an influencer, as in like generally going out there and doing your makeup. I don't know how saturated that field is right now, but makeup, art, creating beautiful things, that is all Venus. And so you're gonna really want to tap into that energy. It also means that you might just be a generous person because Venus gives, and specifically that you might be generous, especially to women. If you have the moon ruling or within your 2nd house, it might mean that earning more money might come with being more nurturing or wandering around, traveling, associating with people who might have a queen like energy, because the moon, she is a queen in the night, you know? And so it might also mean that your finances might have a tendency to fluctuate. And I would say, watch out when it comes to unnecessary spending. Don't take treacherous journeys, don't go on treacherous roads, or whatever the meme says. But yeah, um, it also means that you might earn more money with your body. Maybe it might mean dancing, acting, moving around, moving your body might be involved, because the moon traditionally was associated with your physical body and your physical self, basically. Now that we've done the moon, we obviously have the sun. Ladies first. And so the sun might mean that you earn your money through being seen, being visible. The sun is shining on me right now. That is its energy. It's about shining light. It might also mean working with famous people or with people in positions of power to earn more money, because the sun traditionally was king-like. He had that king energy about him. And so, being seen, go out there, shine bright, and the money will come. But yeah, that's basically the sun energy. Remember, being seen, being visible, shine bright, just like how it's shining on my nose and my face. Anyways, if you have Jupiter ruling or in these houses, it might mean that you earn money through great friendships, unions, being in a position of power, and standing for what is good. Or sometimes it might mean, due to your reputation and your fame, that you earn more money. And so, go out there, network. I think Jupiter is all about that networking with great people. And like I said, being good, your goodness through generosity, you will earn more. And Jupiter is, very positive. Him and Venus are the benefics. And so, like I said, if you have this planet ruling or within your second house, it might just be more positive for you when it comes to money. And like I said, this is especially the case for day births, and it also speaks to, being a very generous person. Jupiter gives, it's abundance. He has everything he needs. He can give as much as he wants. If you have Mars within or ruling these houses, it might speak to earning money through being great in the military, being strong, just in day-to-day life, being strong, putting in great effort. It might mean that your finances are a little bit harder to acquire, especially if you were born during the day. But don't be afraid, just because of that, with effort, with energy, you will get through. Especially if you were born at night, Mars will be more calm and you can really get through that. But if you were born at day, take all of this with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that your finances are just going to be treacherous and horrible. Everything must be taken with a grain of salt, because like I said, without an entire chart, it is dangerous to make such quick assumptions about a planet. Mars can also speak to, positions of power, leadership, depending on how it is positioned within your chart. Like I said, how positive is it doing based on what you read, based on what I told you previously? That's something to take into account. Yeah, it might also mean that, you're kind of reckless with your money, depending on, whether you were born at day or whether you were born at night. Especially if you were born at day, the money might just fly out sometimes, just flies out. And so yeah, that is Mars. Finally, if you have Saturn ruling or within these houses, it might speak to wealth earned through hard work, through labor that might be, repetitive. Or it might also mean owning and renting land or collecting taxes and being, involved sometimes with some seaside activities, some seaside trades, or like I said, trades of the lands or trades of the sea. So yeah, he can speak to vast amount of wealth if he is doing great, especially by day. It can be positive, but everything to be taken with a grain of salt. And yeah, like Mars, Saturn is a malefic planet, so it means that he might cause some difficulties in terms of this aspect of your life. But remember, the grain of salt, because we need to have the entire birth chart to be able to make such a judgment. And don't be afraid. Go out there, I don't know, get yourself some apartments, rent them out, get into your Saturn bag, and yeah, period. Now in this next step, we're gonna add even more detail to the interpretation. And this we're gonna do by looking at where the ruler of your second house, in what house it is located. Like I said at the beginning of the video, each house is associated with a different topic of life, and seeing where the ruler of your second house is located within these houses can tell us where your money flows and where it is made manifest, and again can give you more information on how to earn more money. Here are the different houses and what they symbolize. And now we're going to look at an example to see just how, we can see where in life, your finances flow to or are made manifest. I'm going to be taking Kim Kardashian's chart as an example. As we can see, she has the ruler of her second house in the 11th house of friends, which is located up here. And, it is friends and associates. And we know that Kim has made quite a lot of money with her associates within the company of Skims, which is, the company that has earned her the most money, and if I am not mistaken, has actually allowed her to become a billionaire. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope it helped you out, and I hope you learned a thing or two, and that you're gonna get your bag this year. We're moving forward, And like I said, you can always go to my website to find out more information about booking a consultation with me if you want to learn more. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.